Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today is Tuesday, October 18, 2022. Roland Martin Unfiltered, broadcasting live from Savannah, Georgia. Coming up on the Black Star Network, we're talking about the second day of early voting here in Georgia. We'll talk about the campaign of Senator Raphael Warnock versus Herschel Walker. Also, Stacey Abrams facing Brian Kemp. We'll talk about all the facets of that campaign. Tonight, Congresswoman Val Demings will be debating Senator Marco Rubio in Florida, where she, of course, is trying to defeat the incumbent as well. We'll also break down this campaign. What is going on? Are we seeing Democratic enthusiasm compared to Republican enthusiasm? Also, what do Black voters want to see and hear? Earlier today, we were in Savannah and visited with several Black-owned businesses and heard from them about what they want to see in the campaign as well. So lots of stuff we'll be covering. Also, today, the Department of Agriculture announced a new $800 million initiative one day, a few days after the lawsuit announced by Ben Crump and the Black farmers. We'll find out if that's actually legitimate. And Governor Ron DeSantis, folks, shocking video where police were arresting formerly incarcerated people who actually voted. Y'all remember, Florida told them they could vote, but then his unit claimed voter fraud. Stunning video we'll show you there as well as he faces former Congressman Charlie Crist, the next governor of Florida. That and more right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. It's time to bring the funk. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Hey, folks, we're here in Savannah, Georgia. Glad to be back. Of course, we were here several times in 2020 for the runoff with Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff. Now we're back, of course. Huge races taking place here in Georgia. Midterm elections on November 8th all across the country. Today is the second day of early voting. Yesterday was a record turnout in Georgia. Nearly 130,000 people voted early. That breaks the record. 2018, in that midterm election, some 72,000 people voted early. Don't know yet in terms of who those voters are. Democrats, though, are happy with that level of turnout. They really want the focus to be on a massive early turnout because they know what's going to happen on election day. Typically, you have a significant Republican turnout, so they want to build up a massive lead during early voting, which of course, started on yesterday and will last for a week. And so we're here. I want to kick off with a couple of folks who are joining us. First up is Commissioner, and forgive him, y'all. He a little capo, so y'all can forgive him. Commissioner Aaron Whiteley can share with us being here. How you doing, Doc?
Thank you. I am good, sir. Thank you for the introduction. I want to welcome everybody here to the beautiful Chatham County facility of Lake Mare. I appreciate all of you for coming out. I want to bring greetings from our chairman, Mr. Chester Ellis, and my colleagues at the Chatham County Board of Commissioners. I am excited. Oh, yeah. That does deserve a clap. I'm sorry. I'm excited that we are here talking about voting issues. It is vitally important that we all take part in the political process, and understanding why we're voting, who we're voting for, and having these discussions are vitally key to our community's growth and development. So I want to thank Mr. Martin. I want to also thank the Trident Group for making this happen with Moncello. If you could raise your hand, sir. Trident Group, thank you guys for putting this together also. And what I'd like to do is first go ahead and introduce somebody who does not need an introduction. They say introduce to some, or actually, no, I'm going to kick it back to Mr. Martin so he could do what he's going to do. I see that alpha mug over there, so let me go ahead and hand the mic back to the alpha. Thank you, sir.
Glad the Kappa figured out whose show this is. I don't need you doing that. So again, we're glad to be here as we're talking about. Look, this is election season, less than 30 days before election, and look, there is so much on the line here. We're going to be talking about that with these races and also talking about turnout. Let's turn right now to, y'all see him, and he purposely wore his little Sigma shirt. We were with him earlier, and so he's our co-host. We were earlier today at a black-owned restaurant, Representative Derek Mallow, and so like I say, it's cute, but I had to remind him Alpha is still their daddy.
What's going on, Savannah? I just want to shout out one of our other co-hosts on the grill. That's Moses Calhoun, who's an awesome brother of Omega Psi Phi. And my colleague who had to step away, Edna Branch Jackson, who's a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Y'all make some love for Edna. You know all them Deltas in the house, did you? But listen, I'm excited to be here to talk about voting in this upcoming election. It is extremely important, and we're thankful for Roland Martin for coming to Savannah and broadcasting and streaming his show out right here in the great city of Savannah, Chatham County. So y'all make some love for Roland Martin.
All right then. As I said, a whole lot is happening, folks, all across the country, but this is also one of the critical states. You look at it right now, the United States Senate, it is 50-50. Of course, that was a result of the 2020 runoffs where Warnock and Ossoff won. Ossoff won a 6-year term, but Warnock, of course, filled the remaining 2 terms of the retiring Republican, and so now he's running for re-election for a full 6-year term. Looking at the polling numbers, a very, very tight race. Neither candidate, Warnock or Walker, has actually hit 50+1%. And so some are talking about that even though you're going to have the November 8th race, that this could very well be another runoff that takes place when it comes to this year. So I want to ask both of you, though, I want to get a sense from you about enthusiasm, because all across the country, you look at various polling data, it's about a 5 to 7 point difference between Republicans and Democrats when it comes to enthusiasm. Also, this state was on fire in 2020 in that runoff. There was so much emphasis, so much attention on Georgia. And obviously, you have multiple races going on, but so you don't have the same level of intensity. And so just your perspective in terms of what you're seeing, what you're hearing in terms of folks, do you see the intensity, understanding how critical this race is and what the turnout needs to be?
Well, I think that's a great question, Roland. One thing I think we're really looking and dealing with is voter apathy at a very historic high. And with that, that's making people not want to come out. Another challenge that we're facing is that we've had to battle so much misinformation through our media outlets and so on and so forth that some folks just are throwing their hands up and saying it's just too much going on. So I think it is vitally important that we as individuals who understand the importance of this election, we cannot let that go understated. So it's important for us to make sure that we're taking a friend to the poll and a friend's friend to the polls. Additionally, I think it's important for us to do our own research. Oftentimes, it's easier and a lot more simple for us to take somebody else's word for it. And again, we can call that laziness, we can call that apathy, we can call it whatever we want to do, but at the end of the day, it's vitally important that we get the facts, all of the facts. So I'm hopeful that as more facts come out about the candidates, as more facts come out about the races and the importance of the race, we'll see more excitement brew.
Well, one of the things that jumps out at me when we talk about informing folks is also connecting the dots. And so if you look at polling data now, the issue of inflation, the economy, huge gap between that and also the issue of abortion and other issues. I mean, in terms of what are really the top 3. And so new polling data shows out where on the independent side, Republicans are plus 18 with women in terms of, and obviously Republicans are getting, their women voters, but Democrats are getting their women voters as well. That's going to be a huge block. But in terms of African Americans in this state, you have President Biden's approval numbers that are very low in this state. That's also impacting black polling data as well. And so what is happening in these, not just the cities, but also in the communities, precinct, down to the precinct level, of being able to tap where people are, who didn't vote last time, and how you're trying to reach those folks to support critical candidates, especially Warnock and Abrams. What is happening here in this city?
Well, I think we're doing a lot in Savannah to get people to turn out to vote and to decrease the amount of voter apathy that we have. And, I mean, it's all about just spending time on the phone, talking to voters, explaining what each candidate has done for black Georgians, what they're going to do for black Georgians. But as you and I talked about earlier, voting is our medicine. And so you don't take medicine one day to get rid of a cold. You have to take it over a regimented course or period of time that you have to take medicine. It's a 7-day course, a 14-day course. And guess what? Just because you got rid of the cold don't mean you have to stop taking medicine. So we have to continue to be engaged in that process, taking our medicine. But after we take our medicine, we got to go back to the doctor and get a checkup and say, hey, I took the medicine. These are the side effects of the symptoms I'm still having. What do I need to do next? And so after November 8th, after we elect Raphael Warnock as senator and Stacey Abrams as governor, y'all make some noise. We have to make sure that we continue to educate the electorate that it doesn't stop there. You got to come back out and talk and hold those politicians accountable for what you're asking for, because how can they deliver something that they don't even know that you're asking for? And as you talk to most voters and you say, why are you upset? They say, well, I didn't see this for black people. I didn't see this. Great. Who did you tell? Oh, I didn't tell nobody. Well, how are we supposed to know what you wanted if you didn't tell us what you wanted to see us do? So I think when we have those conversations and educate the electorate, hey, vote the entire ballot, vote down the ballot, vote for every candidate that's on the ballot. And let me tell you, these are the folks that are going to do something for you, because if you look at the other side, they're not going to do anything for you. And they've already told you what they're not going to do. In fact, you educated me earlier today. We have a U.S. senator that said we don't have enough folks in prison. So when you think about the difference between Raphael Warnock and Herschel Walker, I think the choice is clear that Raphael Warnock has the credentials to be our U.S. senator. And we as a community, each person here, each person on the live, has to tell people to come out and vote and why they should come out and vote, and encourage them and push them until they say, don't text me no more about voting. You got to turn into the people that's texting you about voting to your friends that you know aren't getting text.
Well, I think when you start breaking down, who turns out, I mean, the reality is, if you look at polling data, even Joint Center has done, NMPA has done, especially among black folks, 65 plus, highest voting category. And as you go down in each voting block, it gets lower and lower and lower. And so one of the things that I have consistently said to millennials, Gen Z, is that you can't talk about or complain about, well, why do we have all of these boomers who are in office if you're the largest voting block and then you don't vote? And so what has that conversation been like, trying to reach those college students, trying to reach folks who are not in college, but getting them to understand that you have power, but at the end of the day, if you don't use it, it's simply untapped power?
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things that I've tried to do is make sure that I do what I can to build a bench, bring somebody along, take somebody under the wing, whoever wants to shadow me or anything as an elected official, I offer that opportunity. And it's important that we as Americans build a bench of voters, because the less of us who are voting, then that means that the decisions are going to be made by a small minority of people who may not necessarily have your community's best interests at heart. So really engaging, as a parent, I've made it a point to myself and my wife to engage our kids about the importance of voting and just kind of their thoughts. And one of the things that we see, again, going back to my earlier comment, that laziness, some folks will rather get their information from TikTok and social media, which oftentimes are being used as tools for propaganda and also misinformation. So when we're engaging those Gen Zers and those millennials, which I am a millennial, we have to make sure that we're also making it plain to them. You know, something as simple as understanding that Raphael Warnock was one of the sponsors of a bill that made sure that grandma can get insulin and not have to pay out the yin-yang for insulin. You know, making it plain and bringing it to a tangible reality for our youth, I think, is incredibly important, because otherwise it just seems like optics, it seems like semantics, and not something that they really can affect.
Well, and of course, on that point, remember, every Republican in the Senate voted against capping insulin at $35. So, I mean, that's an important detail as well when you're talking about, who's actually going to do something. One of the things, I was watching, of course, a debate the other night, last night between Kemp and Abrams. One of the issues that I'm always covering, of course, deals with black businesses. And so I started posted that black businesses in Georgia are getting less than 1% of state contracts. What in the hell? Explain that.
Well, so we can start off right there. The state of Georgia has no DBE, MB requirement at all when it comes to contracting in the state of Georgia. And in fact, one of the issues that black businesses run into in the state always comes back to bonding capacity and the ability to get, if the project costs $1 million, $5 million, to get bonded on that project is extremely high. But we know that the state will bend the rules for their friends, right? So I've seen $1 million grass cutting contract be broken down into $250,000 contracts to support rural Georgia, right? But when you come to the more suburban and metro areas, we can't bend the rules. It's got to be X, Y, and Z. And so when you talk about a state that's the #1 state to do business, I always say when Governor Kemp touts that, it's a lie because it's not the best state for black business. And we can do a lot more in the state with record surpluses to make investment in minority, women-owned businesses in this state to create a pathway for them to get access to capital so that they can have opportunities to compete and bid on these contracts. One of the reasons we don't do as well is because access to capital. You can't get banks to lend. And in fact, in the legislature, it was actually a policy that the only way that you could be in the legislature is if you were in a rural community and you owned the bank, and you could be a legislator was only if you owned the bank. You couldn't work for the bank. You had to own the bank. And so a lot of people in this legislature currently are people who benefited from owning banks. And so when you own the bank and you make the loans, you can make loans to all your friends because you own the bank. But when you have a group of people that have been marginalized and oppressed and we don't own the banks, we got to come back to you and ask for a loan. And you say, oh, no, you ain't got X, Y, and Z together. And we saw that even in the PPP loans. It was one hurdle after the other hurdle after the other hurdle after the next hurdle. And for most black businesses, we didn't even get PPP loans. We just said, we'll make it work, right? Because that's what we do best. We make it work. And I think in the state of Georgia, black businesses have been just making it work. But less than 1% is something that we should hold this governor accountable for right now and elect Stacey Abrams as governor so she can at least get us past 1% and get us to 25, 30% and keep growing that number.
See, that's what I find to be interesting because I've seen all of these stories talking about how Kemp is appealing to black business owners, specifically black men. And I've actually not heard a lot about the less than 1%. And so for me, that also raises the question about democratic messaging. You talk about, and I firmly believe this, that when it comes to messaging, Republicans do a much hell of a better job. You look at what's happening with the economy, and I've been saying this for a year now, that I think the Biden-Harris administration has done a woeful job of actually telling people what they've done. It's one thing to pass bills. Obama was the same way, and he admits, hey, they passed things, but they were horrible at telling folks what they passed. Part of the deal as a politician is to actually take credit when you do stuff. And I think they've been, frankly, too modest, especially when you follow the fool who took credit for stuff that he never did. So I'm like, if you've done stuff, take credit for the stuff that you've done. And so I believe that's also part of this deal where people say, well, nothing has been done. I trip out when people say they've done nothing for black folks, and I'm like, well, this. And when you count those things, that to me also has to be better explained. So when you're talking to these voters, are you walking people through and knowing full well they say, well, nothing's been done. Well, no, this, healthcare, education, all these different things, being very specific what has been done by Senator Warnock and others.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's key to the messaging overall. I mean, when we think about what Senator Warnock has done, he's very he's humble, but we have to make sure that we're overstating some of the victories that he's had. I mean, he's worked in a bipartisan way, again, like I said earlier, to pass the bill that made sure that Medicare medications under Medicare is capped. When we talk about locally in the economy, he's worked to make sure that the Savannah Combat Readiness Center stayed open. When we talk about the economy, keeping, I think it's S&K Battery here in Georgia, 26,000 jobs. That was because of Senator Warnock. So I do think that those of us who support Raphael Warnock have to make sure that we're sharing these victories and also sharing that he went to the Senate and did what he said he was going to do. He went up there and he worked with everybody, regardless of party, to get stuff done for Georgians. When I think about the work that he's done for veterans, Senator Warnock was one of those folks, one of the sponsors of the bill that brought over $2 million for homeless veterans throughout our country. So as a veteran, I hear those things, and those ring bells for me. And so I think it's very important when we're talking to people in different aspects of our community that we are sharing the victories that he has done. And going back to my earlier point, those tangible victories that the average person can relate to, we have to sometimes simplify it to make sure that it's digestible.
Last point for you, and that is this here. If there's someone who is a millennial and they're just sort of stuck on the fence and they're like, hey, I don't see any point in this, what would you specifically tell them why they must use the power of the ballot?
I'm just telling everybody, I remember when Senator Warnock went to Washington, and he said, if you send me to Washington, I'm going to make sure that I deliver. The first thing I get for y'all is a STEMI. And he went to Washington, and he cast one of the deciding votes to make sure that $1,500 that Americans desperately needed, he cast a vote to make sure that we were able to have that. And we couldn't have done that without Senator Raphael Warnock being the senator from Georgia. And he worked hard to deliver not only that issue, he went to back not only with the Savannah ports, he went back to bring money back, historic funding for HBCUs. So if you're a millennial and you attend an HBCU in the state of Georgia, you got to understand we've been historically underfunded. And if it wasn't for Senator Warnock making sure that CARES Act dollars went back to HBCUs, that then went back into students' pockets to help them through the pandemic, then you've missed it. I need you to get plugged in so you can understand when you got that refund, that was because of Raphael Warnock.
And I'll say this here, and again, this is one of the things that I'm always about connecting the dots. When you talk about the amount of money that HBCUs received, we broke this down on the show, whether it's in Georgia, whether it was in Tennessee, Alabama. From the federal government, they actually received 3 to 4 times more money from the federal government than their own state funded them. And when we talk about money that went to HBCUs, this is the thing that people lose out on. It's not just the money. When we say money went to HBCUs, you're also talking about not just students, but faculty, staff, also restaurants and other businesses tied to the HBCUs as well. So that money that went there had an impact in multiple ways beyond just those places. And plus, the homeless folks came from as well. And so, again, that's one of those things. If you're talking about, hey, how are you voting? How did folks vote on those issues that impacts African Americans? Gentlemen, I certainly appreciate it. Thanks so much. Glad to have you here. We're going to go to a break. We come back. We're going to talk to some business owners here in Savannah, Georgia about this election. What do they care about? What is most important? And so we'll do that. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Be sure to download the Black Star Network app. All platforms. You can download it on, of course, your Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Also, you can join our Bring the Funk fan club. Your dollars make it possible for us to do what we do. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And, of course, get a copy of my new book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. If you're wondering what the book is about, well, there you go. I make it plain. Of course, available at all bookstores, Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Also, you can order from your favorite black bookstore. Download your copy on Audible as well. I'll be right back.
When we invest in ourselves, our glow, our vision, our vibe, we all shine. Together, we are black beyond measure.
Welcome to Atlanta, one of the most expensive housing markets in America. But rather than help out, Brian Kemp cashed in. He made hundreds of thousands of dollars in real estate. His net worth skyrocketed. And while Atlantans struggled to stay in their homes, Kemp gave $10,000 tax handouts to the richest Georgians and a nearly $700 million no-bid contract to his campaign donor, Brian Kickback Kemp, making Georgia work for him, not you.
When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are black beyond measure.
You know what's on the ballot. It's not just legislation and policies we believe in. It's democracy. Our democracy. There's a choice on the ballot between freedom and fear, between cruelty and compassion, between chaos and community, between voting or violence, and the end of rights generations have fought for. The extremists have a plan, a roadmap for a nation where your voice is silenced and your vote is a memory, where they count their votes and cast ours aside. That's why this year, this fight, this vote is so important. Register, engage, volunteer, fight back against the disinformation and despair, and most of all, vote, because your vote is all that stands between our future and theirs.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen shooting.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance.
We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Libraries empower the community with education. Liberia Economic Development Initiative, LEDI, is hosting the International Life Changers Awards and Liberia's bicentennial to celebrate LEDI building the country's first modern public library and technology center. Join event host Roland Martin. Our honorees, Reverend Dr. Jamal Bryant, Zernona Clayton, Thomas Dorch Jr., Dana Lupton, Dr. Tammy Graysteele, on October 29th at the CNN Center, Atlanta. There are no public libraries in Liberia, but together we can change that. Get tickets at ledinow.org.
Hi, I'm Kim Burrell.
Hi, I'm Carl Payne.
Hey, everybody, this is Sherry Shepherd. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
That's a weak clap. See, y'all see what happens when they got barbecue? They just don't even clap. They like, yeah, we're going to the back for some food. We'll holler at y'all later. Welcome back, folks, to Savannah, Georgia. We're here, of course, second day of early voting here in Georgia. Glad to be here on the ground. We were in, of course, Swainsboro, Georgia last Thursday. Was it last Thursday? Was that last week? Then, of course, Valdosta, Georgia last night. We'll be back here next Monday and Tuesday as well. So glad to be back. I got a couple of folks here who are business owners here. Let's welcome right here, of course. We have Sabria Scott Realty. How you doing? Yeah, she all nervous and everything. I don't know why she's nervous. And we also have Gary. Is it Gordon or Gordon? Gordon. 520 Wings owner. All right, glad to have you as well. So let's talk about this here, because I was talking last segment about business owners and what people are talking about. It's interesting. I was talking to a woman today, and she said she's a new business owner, and she said on a number of issues she's absolutely with Senator Warnock, but she's looking at it strictly as a business owner, so she's looking at tax policy. And so talk about that. That's sort of, because I hear that a lot as well, where folks are like, hey, I line up with Senator Warnock on these issues, but the dominant issue for me is also my business and having lower tax rate, things along those lines. Are you hearing that discussion among other business owners, and are folks sort of on the fence there when it comes to something like that?
Well, I think that is very important, but you do have some people that's on the fence about the taxes, right? For me, I'm a small business owner, the owner of Scott Realty Professionals, and when everything shakes out, I'm kind of up here versus down here, but I'm really not rich. You know what I'm saying? So what happens is I'm paying the higher taxes. So for a lot of my friends that are business owners, they feel like, well, hey, you know, when I'm looking at the tax policies, when I compare them to the Democrats and the Republicans, it's kind of like I'm getting more of a tax break with the Republicans. But for me, I'm not just voting for myself and my business. I'm voting for my family. I'm voting for my children. I'm voting for my clients and everybody. So I'm not the selfish person that's saying, okay, well, you know, my business would be thriving a little bit more if this person was in office. I'm looking at the whole picture. So I think that's very important, especially with being a small business owner.
Well, again, that was one of the couple of things that we were talking about earlier. And again, that's when people are voting, folks vote in different ways. Some folks are voting just about single interest only, or just about, you know, how it affects them, whereas others are saying, hey, this thing is much bigger than you, and also it's bigger than that one particular issue. What is it for you?
I want to just piggyback on pretty much what Sabria said. I own 2 restaurants in Savannah. One of them is a bar, and a lot of times in the evenings, I get a lot of females at the bar, and I see a lot of concerns as just women's rights. And I know, you know, we had the big thing, you know, with them overturning abortions in the United States, and that's a lot of topic at my restaurant a lot. So, like I said, I think if you vote other directions, you know, you may get a tax break, but I'm voting, and a lot of my customers are voting just for the everything else besides that kind of. It's deeper than just, you know, saving some money in the long run.
And speaking of that, when you're hearing these conversations, what role are you playing, and are you seeing the back and forth? Are you seeing, to the point earlier, are you seeing people who are bringing in misinformation, or are you seeing people really understanding what is at stake, and are they factoring sort of all of that in?
Me personally, from what I'm seeing, you know, 99.9 of my consumers or customers are voting for Warnock. I mean, if we talk about Herschel Walker, it's just comedy. But when you talk about policies, you know, just between the 2 candidates, man, I think it's a no-brainer, and that's what I'm hearing, you know, at my establishments. You know, everybody's looking at the policies, breaking them down, and everybody is just like a no-brainer.
What have your conversations been like with friends and families and others around this particular election?
Well, it's been a bit different because I'm in an industry that is actually white male dominated. And so I attended one of our realtor events just recently, and we were at an oyster roast actually, and one of the guys were over there talking, and he was like, you know, so-and-so is running for whatever office, and you know, he's a black man and you should vote for him, and he's a Republican, and blah blah blah. And then he started talking about women's rights, and no, he supports, what he said was he supports the new bills with, you know, reversing Roe versus Wade. And I said, well, I think you're at the wrong table. I said, I'm just going to be real clear. I think you need to stop it right here. But all of us women at this table, we think that it should be a woman's right to choose. So I think that that's very important. That's one of the biggest issues that the women around me have been discussing. I just ultimately feel like that's a woman's choice. And if whether it's Warnock or whoever, I think at the end of the day, whatever a woman chooses, at the end of the day, if they got to take it up with God, that's what they do. But it should be their choice.
She like Warnock or whoever. She like, I ain't even mentioning his ass. She like Warnock or whoever. She like, whatever his name. So he actually said that it was a table of women, and he said that?
It went all bad. It went all bad. One of my agents, she's in the audience. I say, listen, you at the wrong table. I think you need to stop it right now.
She's about to say, team whip that ass about to show up right now. That's what she's about to say. She's about to say there. Also, let's talk about this. Again, we talk about businesses. Earlier, again, the conversation I had with another business owner, she talked about the whole issue with lack of access to capital. When you look at, this is pre-COVID, when you look at black-owned businesses, some 2.6 million black-owned businesses across the country, but 2.5 million had one employee. And so people keep talking about how, oh my goodness, we're seeing these increasing black-owned businesses, but we actually aren't, because they're sole proprietors. And so if you only have, if it's just you, I mean, you're not actually building capacity. And so are you hearing what you want to hear from the candidates you're supporting when it comes to how to help and grow black-owned businesses in this city, state, and in this country?
Yeah, I think so. I was talking to a banker a couple of months ago just about lending, and she was asking me how did I feel, and I just told her, you know, I'm used to the used to. I mean, when you're a black-owned small business, man, you're just used to getting it out the mud. But I am looking forward to see if Warnock can do some stuff to change it. But again, I'm just used to being so hands-on and so used to not getting the loans, even applying for them. I'm just used to it. So I am looking forward to see if Warnock can, you know, change my mindset of, you know, we can get more lending for minority businesses out there.
And when President Biden spoke at the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, ALC, he talked about, because on the national level, we talk about Georgia getting less than 1%. On the national level, black people only get 1.67% of the $560 billion in federal contracts, and he wants to grow that from $9 billion to $100 billion, which is going to be certainly a tall order. And again, I think if we're talking about connecting the dots, if candidates are speaking to that particular issue, that has a direct impact on growing our communities and growing us economically. And so when you have folks talking about a crime, well, if you don't talk about employment, if you don't talk about jobs, then you're not having a crime conversation. So crime is not so isolated, because that's also based upon economics. That's certainly just one of those issues. And so what do you want to hear Senator Warnock say or do more if he's reelected?
Well,
because we know how you feel about whoever.
Right. Well, I definitely want to see more opportunity to teach black business owners and minorities, even if you're not a black business owner, how to do business with the government, classes, also how to file your taxes, how you should be filing your taxes, how you should be designating yourself as a small corporation or S Corp, and just also the tax advantages of having businesses and what all things that we should be able to qualify for. So I definitely think it should be more opportunities for us to learn about what's available, how to actually obtain these government contracts, how to obtain bonding, and so we can lift this 1% up to the 25 or the 30%, because I'm one of those people that is getting my foot in the game on government contracting, and it's been difficult. Just understanding the lingo of some of these contracts has been very difficult. So I think that putting more money into funding and explaining, you know, having more classes to help us be able to go after these contracts is very important.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, look, we certainly appreciate it. Thanks so much. And I told y'all that was painless. She was all nervous and everything. I was like, you need to relax. She's like, oh, my God. And he was like, hey, what you going to ask? I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't write no questions. He's like, so you gonna wing it? I'm like, yeah. So you gotta listen, pay attention, then hear what I say. So I told y'all, see, that wasn't hard. That wasn't hard. See, y'all can sit down now. See, it's all good. All right, we're going to a break. We'll be back. We'll talk to a couple more business owners here in Savannah, folks, as we, of course, on the second day of early voting here in Georgia. Record turnout on yesterday. We're still waiting to hear what the numbers are for today all across this particular state. A lot of other stuff we're going to be covering as well, talking about, again, other states. Of course, you have tonight's debate in Florida between Congresswoman Val Demings as well as Senator Marco Rubio. We'll discuss that next with our panel in our 7 o'clock hour. So looking forward to that. Also, folks, again, coming up next, we'll chat with a couple more folks, and then we'll talk more about this state, what's happening here, how critical it is, and what's happening in other parts of the country. Huge midterm election, folks. And you keep hearing me say this all the time, and that is we actually have power. The question is, do we actually use it? And so it doesn't make sense for us to have a significant black population and only 30 and 40% turning out. Just imagine if our turnout is at 65, 70, 75, 80, 85%. We literally could be determining elections all across the country. And so if you're one of those folks who wants to sit at home and you want to be on YouTube, Twitter, or Facebook, complain about what's not happening, then you don't vote. Y'all know how I feel. Vote or shut the hell up. So do me a favor, download the Black Star Network app, available on all platforms: Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV, and of course, to support us with our show, Bring the Funk Fan Club, P.O. Box, check-in money orders, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And of course, get your copy of the book White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Ben Bella Books, Indie Bound, Books A Million, also chapters. And you can get it at Target, plus order from your favorite black bookstore, or download the book from the folks at Audible. Thanks so much, and we'll be right back.
When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are black beyond measure.
Welcome to Atlanta, one of the most expensive housing markets in America. But rather than help out, Brian Kemp cashed in. He made hundreds of thousands of dollars in real estate. His net worth skyrocketed. And while Atlantans struggled to stay in their homes, Kemp gave $10,000 tax handouts to the richest Georgians and a nearly $700 million no-bid contract to his campaign donor, Brian Kickback Kemp, making Georgia work for him, not you.
When we invest in ourselves, our glow, our vision, our vibe, we all shine. Together, we are black beyond measure.
It's about us. We are in sunny South Dallas. The election is coming up. It's super important that folks know who they are voting for, but more importantly, what they are voting for. Y'all, we got the free shirts and free lunch right over here.
Freedom is our birthright. No matter what we're up against, we're sending a message in Dallas and Texas and in this country. We won't black down. That's what this bus tour is all about.
The housing cost is one of the most capitalized areas that we have found. People who are marginalized, that are brown and black, we are suffering the most, and I think that we have the biggest vote and the biggest impact in this election.
I'm voting for affordable housing, for sure.
We should not be paying the cost of a utility failure because our elected officials are too proud to say, we need help.
I know that we can bring out our people to vote. It's a part of our birthright. Right. It's a part of our heritage, and surely it's a part of our present and part of our future.
That's right. That's what's up. And we won't black down. Forward that message to 5 friends, because in that message, it's got links to how to get registered, how to check your registration status.
Like I said, 2:30 we'll start rendezvousing right here on this street. I am voting to let our voice be heard in the rural communities that, hey, we are people too. There are things that we need.
Free shirts, free food, and lots of power.
We are in Longview, Texas, where Black Voters Matter, 365.
Whatever type of oppression a white supremacist throws our way, we will not black down. We are in relentless pursuit of liberation of our people.
Freedom is liberation for black bodies and black communities to make economic change through political power.
Freedom is choice.
We won't black down.
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 On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, it's one thing to have a seat at a table, and it's another to be an investor on the cap table of a unicorn. We're talking venture capital with Leisha Bell and how generational wealth is built through early stage investing.
I know very few people who do what I do, and that's very unfortunate. And I think Silicon Valley has been unkind to Black people.
That's right here on Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat at the Black Table with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Riddle.
What's up, y'all? I'm Will Packer.
I'm Chrisette Michelle.
Hi, I'm Chaley Rose, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Y'all should know how to do that by now. All right, y'all. Glad to be back here in Savannah, Georgia. And first of all, I thought folk supposed to be good hosts in the South. Y'all be sitting here eating, and I hear all this smacking. Ain't nobody brought nothing up here. I see Sabria back there licking her fingers right now. I see you back there. I mean, didn't bring nothing up here. Brother up here working. I mean, I'm just saying, Lord, ain't he offered the brother some water? I'm just saying. All right. Right now, joining us right now, folks, is Lonnie Williams, owner of Patches. Glad to have her here. Ben Polo Jr., Polo Corporation. He's a president. Glad to have y'all as well. And so earlier, you and I were having a conversation, again, about what it means to own a business, what it means to support the community. We were at the restaurant earlier, and they were talking about, again, what they also do for the community. And that's the thing I think it's important for people to understand. When we talk about Black-owned businesses, the role that they play beyond just the business, but also the support that's being offered in so many other ways to our communities.
Well, one, it's my civic duty. Before I'm a business owner, it's my civic duty to vote. Secondly, as a business owner, it's freaking tough. It's no instructions to this thing. I don't come from a family with moolah. It's just tough. And so I've been blessed to be surrounded by amazing mentors to pull me to the side and tell me, you know, hey, yeah, you doing the right thing, or no, you may need to rethink that. But I was the one that was not into politics. I'm like, hell no. Like, this is just not me. I don't do it. My voice is my voice, and this is where it is. But what I found out is that in my latter years in business, that politics is business, and serious business. And as I maneuvered through my business, I understood that there were several obstacles that was causing me not to make better business decisions for my business. And so that's when that whole voting thing came into place. And so I understood the importance of voting, and not only my vote, but my family. My mom was not a voter. My mom is not a voter. And so to make sure that she votes and understand that she's helping me out, she's helping her grandkids out, she's helping her great-great-great-grandkids out, that was just something that was instilled in me by my mentors, not my family. It was just instilled in me by my mentors. And so for those reasons alone, I go to Warnock. You know, this is, I stand for him because he was in the trenches. He lived in the trenches. I lived in the trenches. And so he slowly but surely crawled out the trenches. You know, I'm getting there. But for the most part, he lived the type of life that I seen as a child, and so I think more so his platform and all of those good things up under that I stand for. So it's one of the reasons why I would vote. So
you made your mama vote?
Oh, heck yeah. Yeah, Yeah, my mom came up with every excuse she possibly can to not. But my back, it was one year she was saying that her insulin was, her her sugar was low, you know, as they would say. It was just so many reasons why she could not vote. But for the most part, yeah, she's now a voter.
See, now, mine the reverse. My parents are 75. They work the polls. My mom was a judge. I mean, they do all of that, and so they've worked on campaigns. So that's literally been in my DNA my entire life. And so we operate totally different in my family, because if you don't vote, you gotta get your ass out the house. Straight, like I got 13 nieces and nephews. So first thing you do, you turn 18, voter registration card. So I mean that we ain't even having a conversation. And so I feel bad if any one of my nieces and nephews ever sat at the dinner table and actually said I didn't vote. The cops probably gonna get called. Somebody gonna get slapped. I'm just letting you know. I'm just letting y'all know right now. If y'all hear reports somebody in the Martin family slapped the hell out of a family member, I guarantee you it was over because somebody didn't vote. I'm just letting you know it's probably how it went down. Ben, she said something I think is important, and that is, she said how voting is business, and that's the thing. It sort of pains me when we battle this over and over and over again, trying to get folk to understand that the folk who get stuff are the ones who are in the game. And even when I listen to people and they say, well, we haven't gotten this, it's also folks who don't stay mobilized after the election. We have so much intensity around get registered and vote, but then when the election is over, we're not showing up at school board meetings, at city council meetings, at county commissioners meetings, except when it's a police shooting or there's a controversial issue. But that's actually how things get done, is when we are making demands after the election. Share your thoughts on that.
So, twofold, well, a couple of folds. So to talk about politics and voting being a business, for me it is, because we're in the construction business. So outside of myself, we are literally responsible for employees and those employees' families.
How many?
We've got a total of 68 right now, and that's on one project. So, and you talked about federal contracting. We're heavy in federal contracting. So the voting aspect means a lot more to me because, again, we are literally responsible for families every Friday. They get a check, they feed their families. The policies allow us to compete in different markets that, again, in turn allows them to feed their families. So policies are very important. We're talking about Senator Warnock. I was blessed enough to shoot a commercial for him when he ran. So as far as keeping in touch with the politicians, the politics that are involved in business are key to what I do. So you got to stay engaged. You got to stay plugged in. You allow your employees to do the same thing, and you build a stronger company. And again, opportunities for us pushes down to opportunities for our employees. Everybody wins.
And I think one of the things that happens, and you know, it's always an interesting thing when I try to walk people through this. I said, first of all, if you're not having a money conversation, you're not having an American conversation. You're just not. And you know, I think that, again, when I listen to a lot of people talk about, well, our communities and what's happening, and then I start asking them, well, what do you care about? And then when someone says what do they care about, then I ask the next question, okay, well then what are you doing about that? And so you were there, and so once the light bulb went off, what did that then do for your activism? Because a lot of people say, look, I got a business, I got a family, I don't have time to add something else. But I mean, you got the shirt on, you got 3-4 buttons on. So it really does, that light bulb really went on for you.
Well, this is my business. Everything that you see is my business. So what I have learned is that a closed mouth will never get fed. We know that, right? And so if I'm wearing... I'm going to eat barbecue right now. So that stated, everyone that I'm wearing, everything that I have on, I have met these people. So, and they patronize my business. So the question is, do you know me? Do you know me? So if I am wearing anything that I have on, I will not Nike. I understand and I respect it. Louis Vuitton, I get it. But there's patches. There's patches, right? So I want to make sure that Warnock, hey, where's that patch jacket? Tighten up. You know, I need to know that you are pouring back into me as much as I'm pouring into you. So that love should be equally given.
Gotcha. Ben, I want to pick up on something you said earlier when you talked about the families you feed. And that was the point I was making earlier, that when we're talking about building our businesses, then we are actually then funding our own institutions. Not just supporting churches, but supporting our organizations, supporting HBCUs, supporting other nonprofits. And that's the piece that I think is important, is getting many of our folks to get out of an employee state of mind and operate in an employer state of mind. And so the reason I go so hard on this, because again, we're not building capacity. I mean, it's just sort of one person. I mean, when we launched this show 4 years ago, I mean, and this is crazy, the day we launched, we were actually in the top percentile of all black-owned businesses because I had more than one employee. Now, but people have to understand that is, I mean, 95% of all black-owned businesses do less than $5 million or less. That's 95%. And so when people keep talking about the condition of our community, it also goes back to the condition of black businesses. And we know with Atlanta, first of all, the reason Georgia is what it is because of what Maynard Jackson and Andrew Young and Maynard Jackson again, what they did with the airport. But everybody forget, Maynard comes in, Atlanta, blacks were getting 0.0012% of all city contracts. Not 1%, not a 0.5%, not a quarter, not 0.10, but 0.0012. I mean, that's virtually nothing. And when he said tumbleweeds will go down this runway before I let it be rebuilt without black participation, political power impacted black economic power. So that's why when people say, I'm not voting, I'm like, what the hell are you doing?
Right. Well, how can I follow that up? Because again, you're absolutely right. But even to go a little bit further with our employees, our position as a company is you may start here, but it shouldn't end here. I mean, I can name, especially folks that's in the crowd from Savannah, I can name contractors right now that have their own businesses, but they started with us. But they started right here with us. Because, again, it was to grow their capacity to make them employers instead of employees. Some of those same people we subcontract to right now because we know their work ethic, because they came through our doors. And that is a revolving situation that can happen not just in my business, but anybody's business. Sabria said it earlier. I'm sure she got some continuing education classes with her employees. Any of them are probably equipped to go start their own real estate business because of what she imparted into them. Gary's no different. These people I know. So that revolving door with regard to how we can actually build our own is feasible, is possible, it's out there. But again, you got to do the groundwork to make it happen. And this is where it starts. It starts at ground level, but you should never have your starting point be your ending point. You got to have an end game in mind, but wherever you start, you got to see direction to build on that and make it something else.
Final question for you both, and there's somebody who's sitting out there who's like your mama. What do you say to them right now? Why if they're in Georgia, why they should support your candidate who you win all the gear, shirt and everything. I bet you got some Warnock socks on too. I'm just messing with you. But there's somebody who's sitting there who's where your mama was. What are you telling them?
I kind of look at voting like being in prison. And why I say that is having someone make a decision for you and you not having any right to say or do or feel in that regard. So having, like I said, your civic duty to vote to actually go out there and do something about how you feel or a policy that you would like to have implemented. To have no voice is to not vote. So sitting at home doing nothing and talking and running your mouth or talking to your friends or, as I state earlier, just that whole prison mentality of you all discussing it together does nothing for ourselves, our community. And if my mom could go out there and vote, even with her aching bones and all of the excuses that she has made, if she can go out there and do it. And most importantly, I am an educator first. And so to my students, they are those persons who are illiterate. So there are sample votes that are available for those persons who do not understand and comprehend those things. Grab somebody, tap them on the shoulder. What does this mean? What does this look like? Because there's fear. There's fear there when you're looking at those words, or you're unable to talk to that person there at the poll and ask them, what does this really state? And that's, again, some of the individuals that I deal with day to day. So what do we do with those persons? Ask someone. Stop being afraid. There's opportunities out there for you. Savannah have ample amount of opportunity. Marcelo does an amazing job with getting that out there. We are super proud of him. He's kind of like our Superman here. He's doing an amazing job with that. But I would say to anyone that is sitting home wanting to vote, someone like my mom, just do it. I mean, it can't hurt you. Just do it. But make sure you do your research first before you go there and vote.
Well, actually, I'll say, it can hurt you. It can hurt you because if the person who wins is against all you stand for, you absolutely can be hurted. Can be hurt. Right. Absolutely. Ben, final comment.
So the Warnock vote is easy for me for a couple of reasons. Senator Warnock was actually raised in a project that I spent many summers in. My father grew up in the project, was born in the project, couple of blocks from where he was born. So when I look at Senator Warnock, that's me. So that's how I identify with that. He's me. So just based on that in itself, because he is me, I will vote for him. So it's simple for me. With regard to what he stands for, again, you can look in the mirror, that's me. So that in itself is easy. And to educate others to vote, you've got to understand that politicians and policies, if they represent what helps you and your family, then that's the direction that you've got to be smart enough to say, that's the person that represents my best interest, that's the person I need to see in office, that's the person I need to support, and that's the person that I'm going to rely on to make myself and my family situation better.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Let me, I'm going to close this segment of the show out before we go to the next hour this way. And I told y'all got to be real careful when y'all posting comments in our chat rooms because I actually watch them. And somebody named Jamal Woods, how many of these black business owners support the black agenda? Well, first of all, Jamal, what the hell is the black agenda? I mean, you're posting in here what the black agenda. What is it? You might want to define what it is before you ask somebody what are they actually supporting. The second thing I think is we also have to deal with there are some simple Simons in our community who really are stuck on stupid. See, I know some of y'all can be nice. Look, the show called Unfiltered. I don't really give a damn what they think, so I don't care. But here's the deal. So I had some folks who were upset. They were like, how dare I demand the Biden-Harris administration award more black-owned media contracts to black-owned media firms? Well, that's what I demanded when I was during the election. So I love all the people who holler tangibles. I want tangibles for my vote. Well, every candidate who came on my show, I demanded they actually do that. Biden-Harris wins. Every time a secretary of a cabinet came on the show, I specifically asked them about black-owned media dollars. Federal government spends $1 billion a year on advertising, and then African Americans only get $51 million out of the $1 billion. And so then you have the people, and again, I'm just understand how the simple Simons. These are the same folk who then say, why are you begging Democrats for campaign money? Well, let's see here. $9 billion is going to be spent this political season. Do you know who's getting rich? Every single TV station owner in Georgia. every radio station in Georgia, digital operations, media strategists. It's amazing to me to listen to black people complain when a black business demands fair share, but other folk get rich. I need people to understand what I'm saying. They're literally, one of the speakers earlier said this in terms of we're used to doing a lot with so little. I'm actually tired of us saying that. I'm tired of us literally saying, well, we're going to do a lot with so little. How about we do a lot with a lot more? So when we're talking about supporting a Raphael Warnock, supporting a Stacey Abrams, supporting other candidates who are running for other offices, that should be a part of the deal. What are you driving black to African Americans? That's what I call the return on investment. That's what I call tangibles. So all y'all who keep hollering tangibles, like I had somebody who was, the dude was, he was in a chat room. It was funny. He was yelling about reparations, and the sister, Nikki Barnes in Florida, asked him, who's your state rep? And he didn't know. She says, well, how in the hell you asking? She said, how in the hell you going to demand Florida pay reparations when you don't even know who your state rep is? What's happening right now is there are billions of dollars that are being spent in cities like Savannah and states like Georgia in this country. I told you the federal government spends $560 billion a year on contracts. Black people get 1.67%. In this state, billions being spent, we're getting less than 1%. So if you want to understand how we impact it, we force candidates to say, you need to increase that to black-owned businesses. Now, all y'all folks who also yell, holler, and scream, you want bills specific to black people, well, you can also advocate that. Okay, the state of Tennessee just announced they're going to spend $2 billion on a new stadium for the Tennessee Titans, and the state's going to kick in $500 million. But this is the same state that owes Tennessee State $500 million for being underfunded. So how many black folks are challenging them, saying, damn, a stadium for a billionaire owner, how about $500 million for Tennessee State? So again, I think a lot of us need to completely be reprogrammed with what it is we're demanding and asking for. And again, y'all know how I feel. If you support reparations, great. But you're advocating for dollars that they have not even remotely allocated. But you're silent about the billions that are being spent right now. If you want to change the black community, why don't you fight for the billions being spent right now? And then when that happens, then we can fund our own candidates who then might run for office and then might support the very thing that you say you want. But you can't demand one and then say I'm not going to vote until I get it, but I can't demand something and not get it if I don't change the people who can get it. Get it? Gotta go to a break. I'll be back. I appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. Don't forget, download the app, folks. Black Star Network app on all platforms: Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV, and of course, support us in what we do by joining our Bring the Funk fan club. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSmartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Also, get a copy of the book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Available in all bookstores, wherever they are, Barnes & Noble, Amazon as well. And, of course, order from your favorite black bookstore. Download the book from Audible as well. And also, all y'all folks on YouTube, stop freeloading. Hit the like button. It ain't that hard. It's free. It's a click. It's not that hard. So hit the like button. So when you come back, I should see at least, it's 3,000. I should see at least 1,500 likes. I'm just saying. Don't make me start to cuss y'all out. Because, you know, I will start checking every single one of y'all names on here. And y'all know I ain't got no problem calling y'all names out. So hit the like button. Same thing if you watch it on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitch, or on the Black Star Network app as well. We'll be back with no more news of the day in our second hour with our panel as well. Live from Savannah, Georgia, Roland Martin Unfiltered of the Black Star Network.
When we invest in ourselves,
we are live from Duncan
we
Theater
all shine. Together, we are black beyond measure.
State College.
Welcome to Atlanta, one of the most expensive housing markets in America. But rather than help out, Brian Kemp cashed in. He made hundreds of thousands of dollars in real estate. His net worth skyrocketed. And while Atlantans struggled to stay in their homes, Kemp gave $10,000 tax handouts to the richest Georgians and a nearly $700 million no-bid contract to his campaign donor, Brian Kickback Kemp, making Georgia work for him, not you.
When we invest in ourselves, we're investing in what's next for all of us. Growing, creating, making moves that move us all forward. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
I've always said this, rather than to continue to fight for a fair piece of the pie and the equal slice of the pie, I want my hand on the knife that cuts the pie. And to that extent, who bakes the pie and who puts it in? And that's one of the things that got me involved in going into politics in the first instance. I'm tired of people making decisions for me.
Right.
And mine. I want to be a part of that decision-making process. And luckily, it has paid off in terms of seeing the progress that many people in America have made, particularly the people of color. One thing bothers me now that we seem to be losing that.
Right.
By saying that we've got to be more concerned with other people than those people who were here. We built America.
We are in sunny South Dallas. The election is coming up. It's super important that folks know who they are voting for, but more importantly, what they are voting for. Y'all, we got the free shirts and free lunch right over here.
Freedom is our birthright. No matter what we're up against, we're sending a message in Dallas and Texas and in this country. We won't black down. That's what this bus tour is all about.
The housing cost is one of the most capitalized areas that we have found. People who are marginalized, that are brown and black, we are suffering the most, and I think that we have the biggest vote and the biggest impact in this election.
I'm voting for affordable housing, for sure.
We should not be paying the cost of a utility failure because our elected officials are too proud to say, we need help.
I know that we can bring out our people to vote. It's a part of our birthright. Right. It's a part of our heritage, and surely it's a part of our present and part of our future.
That's right, that's what's up. And we won't black down. Forward that message to 5 friends, because in that message, it's got links to how to get registered, how to check your registration status.
Like I said, 2:30 we'll start rendezvousing right here on this street. I am voting to let our voice be heard in the rural communities that, hey, we are people too. There are things that we need.
Free shirts, free food, and lots of power.
We are in Longview, Texas, where Black voters matter, 365.
Whatever type of oppression a white supremacist throws our way, we will not black down. We are in relentless pursuit of liberation of our people.
Freedom is liberation for black bodies and black communities to make economic change through political power.
Freedom is choice.
We won't black down.
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 Libraries empower the community with education. Liberia Economic Development Initiative, LEDI, is hosting the International Life Changers Awards and Liberia's bicentennial to celebrate LEDI building the country's first modern public library and technology center. Join event host Roland Martin. Our honorees, Reverend Dr. Jamal Bryant, Zernona Clayton, Thomas Dorch Jr., Dana Lupton, Dr. Tammy Graysteele, on October 29th at the CNN Center, Atlanta. There are no public libraries in Liberia, but together we can change that. Get tickets at ledinow.org.
Hi, my name is LaToya Luckett.
Yo, it's your man Dion Cole from Blackish, and you're watching
Roland Martin, Unfiltered.
Stay woke.
right, folks, welcome back to Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Time for our second hour. We were sitting here busy signing copies of White Fear, so I'm going to be still doing that with the folks who are out here. And so we got one. Come on here. So y'all, this is one of our avid viewers of the show. And where did I first meet her? Where'd you say? Oh, that's right. When I was here in 2020, we went to the Black-owned restaurant. So what's your name? Michaela. Michaela. And so what's your whole name? What's your government name?
Michaela Bryant.
Michaela Bryant. Gotcha. And so you watch the show?
Nope. My mama does.
Your mama does? And what you call me when you watch the show?
Uncle Roro.
That's what everybody call. All right, Michaela. Good to see you. Appreciate it. All right, folks. Let's want to do this here. We got our panel who's there, of course, in D.C. Glad to have them here. Let me introduce them right now. And let's see here. Hold on one second. Michael Brown, he, of course, former chair of the DNC Finance Committee. Randy Bryant, diversity and inclusion strategist, speaker, trainer, and writer. Dr. Larry J. Walker, assistant professor, University of Central Florida. Glad to have all three of you here. Folks, one of the huge issues that we've been looking at is the issue of voting. And in Florida, Amendment 4 passed, which restored the voting rights to folks who were formerly incarcerated. And after that happened, it was by a wide margin. Republicans then began to change the law because they saw what the impact would be. Upwards of 1.4 million people were going to be impacted. And so what Governor Ron DeSantis did was, how shameful and despicable this man is, created a so-called voter integrity unit where they then began to arrest people who they say voted fraudulently. The New York Times, the Tampa Times, the other newspapers, they've been reporting on this. And this is a video that went viral today, body cam footage of police officers arresting people, largely black people, who they claim voted illegally, even though the state of Florida told them they were eligible to vote. Watch this.
So apparently, I guess you have a warrant?
For what?
I'm not sure.
For voter stuff, man.
For voters.
It's what it is. I think the agents with FDLE talked to you last week about some voter fraud, voter stuff, when you weren't supposed to be voting, maybe. I didn't. So what are they talking about? That's what we're not the case agents, but what you got to do, they have reduced your bond quite a bit. It's 2 felony charges for voter fraud, but they've reduced it to $500 bonds. So it's $1,000 total. Oh my God, man! What? So, yes, sir. So unfortunately, right now we're gonna have to take you to jail, but you got a bond right away. You don't have to go to first appearance, nothing like that. So. A bond? I didn't do it.
Okay. So, ma'am, we have a warrant for your arrest.
For what?
For voter fraud.
Good. How are you, sir?
Oh my God! Hold on. Wait. Let me tell my husband.
We're telling him. He's right here.
Right here. So if you can put your hands behind your back, please. Oh my God! Do not move.
Ultimately, ma'am, you have a warrant. Okay. The warrant. Listen, hold on. Listen. I know you caught off guard. I understand. Right. So you have a warrant. It's for voter fraud. Okay. Hear me out. It's an ROR. You know what an ROR is?
Oh my God!
You go in, you get booked, and then they're going to release you from booking.
You can go right out.
You're going to be right back out. Okay.
Right back
but you have a warrant.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm like, voter fraud. I voted, but I ain't commit no fraud.
Well, so that's the thing. I don't know exactly what happened with it, but you do have a warrant. That's what it's for. Okay.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so I don't know what happened with that, but.
I got out. The guy told me that I was free here to go vote or whatever, because I done my time.
Yep.
I was free.
But the warrant was just made yesterday, so.
The guy talked to me 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I know. I don't know, ma'am. I honestly couldn't tell you. Okay. So I got to do some paperwork, and the quicker I can get the paperwork done, the quicker I can get you there. Okay.
Hey, unfortunately, you got a warrant out, okay? Warrant? Yes, sir. Want to put your hands behind your back for me?
Well, no, but no one ever really explained all that much to me. I told the guys when they came out here that I was at the driver's license place getting my new driver's license. Yeah. The guy there asked me, he says, hey, can you vote? He says, hey, are you registered to vote? I said, no, I'm a convicted felon. I'm pretty sure I can. He goes, well, are you still on probation? I said, no. I got off probation like a month ago. He goes, well, then you can probably vote. Hey, just fill out the form, and if you can vote, then they'll let you give you a card. If you can't vote, then you won't. And I'm like, all right.
And there's your defense. You know what I'm saying?
That
sounds like a loophole to me.
Well, we can hope.
Yes, sir. Will do.
It's because of the sex offender thing that you can't vote. So, I mean, the warrant is for the voting deal, I guess, but... I guess it's kind of all tied together. Yeah, I guess they're doing like some kind of roundup thing or something for all the ones that were within the county.
Yeah, I had to do one of these this morning already.
Oh, really?
Do you know the statutes for them?
It doesn't say it on the...
Let's walk over to my car, okay?
Why is y'all doing this now and this happened years ago?
I don't know. I have no idea, man.
This shit crazy, man. Y'all put me in jail for something I didn't know nothing about. Why would y'all let me vote if I wasn't able to vote?
Go.
Joining me now is Neil Volz. He's Deputy Director for the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition. And Neil, glad to have you on the show. Let's just be clear. This is shameful, despicable, and sadistic. And this is the kind of intimidation from an autocratic leader like Governor Ron DeSantis. It is designed to intimidate the formerly incarcerated to keep them from voting in that state.
Well, man, Roland, thank you for having me. on. And watching those videos, man, it's just heartbreaking. It puts a face on the system, man. It's just not working. It's reverberating around the community, like you said. People are confused. People are scared about voting, and it's just having a real disruptive impact in terms of those things that just seem to make sense, right? They said it in the video. Everyone there got a voter identification card from the government, and then years later, the government now is arresting people on voter fraud. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense, man.
I remember when Amendment 4 passed and you had various voter registrars who were saying they needed guidance from the state. Republicans were racing to change the law, saying they had to pay back all of their fines in order to actually get their voting rights restored. And there were all kind of people who were saying, look, we don't know what's going on here because it passed. And then, of course, they changed the law. They got sued. The Florida Supreme Court affirmed that decision by the Republicans in the state. And so for the governor to spend millions of dollars on this unit, and what? There were only 20 cases?
Right. Well, and think about it. Like you just said, we're spending millions of dollars arresting Florida citizens for voting when their own government gave them voter ID cards and said they could vote. I mean, the truth is we know how to fix this system. Those of us here at FRC, we've been clamoring for this since 2018, 2019, 2020. We're saying you got to fix the front end of the system. You got to be able to give somebody voter eligibility verification right on the front end. I mean, let's be honest. I'm somebody with a felony conviction. You know, if I go try to get food stamps, I try to get, government services, man, they're going to determine my voter eligibility immediately on the front end. What we should have at least as good a system as that for voting, especially 4 or 5 years after the voters were very clear about what we wanted. The truth is none of these people should have been arrested in the first place if we had a system that could give assurances on the front end. Instead, we're spending millions of dollars on law enforcement and courts and investigations, and we're seeing what kind of impacts it's having in the community by that video right there. It's a super unsettling, especially as we go into this upcoming election.
Absolutely. So what are y'all doing right now to warn formerly incarcerated? Because, again, folks are seeing this video, and look, you can even tell these officers were like, we really don't know why in the hell we're here while we're doing this. I mean, they were apologetic for what was going on. And so what are y'all doing to warn folks as a result of these scare tactics that the governor has unleashed on the formerly incarcerated in Florida?
Yeah, I mean, we're doing a couple things. I appreciate you asking. One, once these arrests started, we immediately set up a bail fund. We immediately set up a legal defense fund because, look, we know the system. 98% of people plead out, right? So we got folks put in a situation in which they're sitting in jail trying to negotiate for their own freedom and for their own future, and it's an uneven negotiation. So we want to make sure that we get everybody out. We want to make sure that anyone who wanted attorney, that we could get somebody assigned to them so that they could have counsel, they could make wise decisions. And we want these conversations to be happening in the courtroom, right? Because we know that there needs to be intent. And we didn't see intent from anybody there. We saw shock that they were even being arrested, right? Everyone that we're seeing in those videos are saying the same things that we're reading in all these affidavits, right? I didn't know that I was on the sidelines of my community for years. I wanted to vote. I wanted to be a part of my community, so I did because the government told me I did. And now 2-3 years later, they're getting arrested. So what we're doing is getting the word out to all of our members through our chapters, through webinars, through one-on-one conversations, and making sure that folks know that they can connect with us and connect with attorneys if they have questions, because we got a horrible situation, to be frank, here in Florida. If you're unsure, the system's basically saying don't vote. And we think that's a horrible process. We need to get the certainty back in the system, and that's why we're also grateful for platforms like yours, and in which we can be very, very clear. Other states have figured this out. They know how to determine eligibility on the front end of that process so that we don't have to deal with any of this stuff on the back end. The couple of the gentlemen who are in the videos that we saw, they got their information from the DMV. They went down to the DMV and had government folks tell them that they were eligible. If I went down to the DMV as a 13-year-old and said, hey, I want to drive, and they gave me a driver's license for 3 years and then arrested me afterwards, I think we'd all be up in arms. But that's exactly the process that we have here. We have a system that doesn't work, and now we're reacting to it with law enforcement and criminalizing voting and making things worse. So, man, we are beating the drum as loud as we possibly can. And I say it again and again, man, thanks for allowing us to talk to folks who care about this through your program, man. We're really grateful for that.
Well, Neil, we certainly appreciate it. Give my best to Desmond and Sheena as well. It's shameful these folks having to deal with that. This woman trying to go to work and then she gets arrested. She's trying to tell her husband because of the actions of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. But we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Michael Brown, I'll start with you. Actually, let me start with Larry since he's there in Florida. Larry, if people need any other reason to throw Ron DeSantis out and vote for Charlie Crist, this is a perfect example right here. I mean, what he is doing, this is about intimidating the formerly incarcerated. And I really hope those upwards of 1.4 million people in Florida who are formerly incarcerated use the power of that ballot and throw him and every single other Republican who passed that law trying to stop them from being able to get their voting rights restored.
So, Roland, this video and how they were treated is how with people in the state of Florida, particularly the governor, are treating returning citizens, but not just returning citizens. We also talk about migrants also, right? I think that the issue here in Florida, Roland, is that there are some people who don't have a problem with this kind of behavior. Let's be clear. We even seen some of the recent polling numbers leading up to the November election in the governor's race in particular. But if you're an American and you believe in fairness, you certainly can't believe this is the way things should be done. It's also, once again, as it was, you've highlighted, is that those individuals, the state said that they could vote, and then they were arrested a few years later. So, we're clearly understand that we have an election coming up in a couple of weeks. So it's silly season as it relates to politics. Another layer to this rule, and I think is really important and is terrorizing for Floridians that look like me, is if we allow Governor DeSantis to win in a few weeks, as he ramps up to run in 2024, it will get far worse for Black and brown Floridians. So it is important in the next couple of weeks that we put an end to these shenanigans right now, because we can't allow our everyday individual in the state to be treated like this. And if we allow this to be this occur in Florida, we'll see that mirrored in other states. But once again, it's silly season leading up to elections, and once again, Roland, there are people in this state who embrace this kind of behavior from the governor.
Michael, I did a video the other day where I said the hell that is going to be unleashed on Americans, especially Black folks, if Republicans take control of the House and the Senate, as well as more governor's mansions, is real. And I've got these fake these so-called new black media people out here who frankly represent nobody. All they do is talk about other people, trying to say, oh my goodness, these are scare tactics Roland's employing. No, fools, look at this. This is real. If Ron DeSantis gets reelected, we are to see how he is terrorizing teachers when it comes to teaching there, how they're trying to actually strip folks of tenure, how they're trying to tell what they can't teach in classrooms. And so it's abundantly clear what's going on. And then you got people like Senator Marco Rubio, who's running against Congresswoman Val Demings. He wants to be senator for another 6 years, who's just kissing the behind of Donald Trump. And I'm telling you, people, you can sit here and play games if you want to, but the agenda that they plan to unleash is all about literally stealing elections. Steve Bannon has said, we're going to put people in the rooms counting the votes, and not all votes should count. And so if folks want to dance around this issue, they can, but I'm telling you right now, they're going to rue the day if all of a sudden they're in control of the House and the Senate, and they continue to control state legislatures, and it is going to be hell for the formerly incarcerated and for Black folks.
And thank you. Do we have to call you Uncle Roro now? Is that what we have to call you?
First of all, all you Omegas just simply say, bow down to us Alphas.
I didn't say anything.
Michael, I don't know why you started. Michael, I don't know why you started, because Michael, just kiss the ring. Just kiss the ring. See? I wouldn't even go there, Michael. But see, you Omegas want to be disruptive.
With having to do with Governor DeSantis, is one of the it's interesting when we watch some of the reports about him, and people say, oh, he's Trump in sheep's clothing, or whatever, however folks describe him. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think he is just as bad as Trump, and frankly, he may be worse for a couple of reasons. One, the 45th president didn't really understand government. He had never been elected official. He didn't understand. He was like a bull in a china shop. Governor DeSantis knows exactly how government operates. Moreover, if he does run in 24, he will still have the bully pulpit of being governor. He doesn't have to give up his seat. And so he'll be able to do things as governor to show how extreme he is. So when he's running for president, and then when he loses, he'll still be governor of Florida. As for the actual law that was passed, which was a great law, they did it also in the state of Virginia when Governor McAuliffe was governor, that you give Black folks, and this is obviously we all know the history, you give Black folks and brown folks the rights, but then you restrict them so much that people are going to have to make a decision. Do I want to vote? Or do I want to get arrested? And that's one of the ultimate deterrent. And so I'm glad that the guest that was just on a second ago is out trying to get the word out. I'm glad you do it every day, Roland, so folks aren't scared and can exercise their rights.
Randy, Michael makes a great point, and I've said the exact same thing. Ron DeSantis is even more evil than Donald Trump. Mike Pence, I said the exact same. And I have detailed what is happening here. Axios did their reporting talking about how these hardcore MAGA Republicans, what they're doing is they are putting together a shadow government as we speak right now. So if they win in 2024, the hell they're going to unleash. In fact, right now, Randy, with the Supreme Court, when they listen to the oral arguments in this so-called state legislature legal theory, Republicans in Louisiana and Alabama are literally trying to redefine the definition of who is Black. They are right. So what they're trying to do is, because it was already established by the Supreme Court when it came to the census, they want to redefine that because they're trying to shrink the number of people who qualify as black. They do not. The census allows for an individual that if they put two different categories to be counted as black. They want to actually get rid of that. What that means is that if you're biracial and you put down black, you can't be included. That's how sadistic they are. I keep warning everybody who watches this show that you need to understand what they are doing. They are trying to hold on to power because they see what's coming, and they are afraid when they are no longer in the majority. That's why I wrote my book, White Fear. They're not sitting here playing games here. They're letting us know exactly what they're going to do. And this was happening in Florida is a perfect example of how they're trying to disenfranchise formerly incarcerated people, but especially black and brown people.
Well, 100. If there were to allow us to have fair elections, to participate in the democratic process, they wouldn't win. You know, the world has changed now. So what they're doing is creating all sorts of ways to cheat. We see how also the districting is changing in Florida and in all over the United States. I read an article about how they are trying to redefine what African American is. And that's not the first time they've done that. They have always tried to broaden, and they've changed the structure of actually who's accepted and counted as a white person to change numbers. And now with this, and when I saw that there was a task force in Florida, it so reminded me of when our African ancestors were enslaved. And there was a whole group of people meant to really not just catch us, but intimidate us. It should tell people the power of our vote, because what they're trying to do is scare us, not just the recently or the incarcerated, the formerly incarcerated, but all Black people. They understand that we have a fear with systems because, of course, these systems were not built for us and don't treat us fairly. So they're now showing that should you try to participate in the democratic process, you have a chance of being arrested. And they feel that that will keep people home. And they're probably right if we don't go out here and have programs like yours and have these conversations. It's all about intimidation.
It absolutely is. Folks, right now in Florida, Congresswoman Val Demings is debating Senator Marco Rubio. Let's go live to that debate right now.
Of these restrictions. I have a bipartisan red flag law sponsored with Senator Jack Reed. But the problem is that the leftists in the Senate and in the House, like Congresswoman Demings, are against it because they want the California red flag law that allows your coworker has a grudge against you and can go to a judge and take away your guns. That I'll never support.
That's the 30. I'm going to overlook Senator-elect Demings. We're going to just blow by that.
I said Senate and then I said
Congresswoman Demings.
Yeah, thank you. Look, every time we talk about responsible gun ownership and legislation that could help protect lives, you pull the Second Amendment out. My father was a gun owner. Has nothing to do with the Second Amendment. This is about taking dangerous guns out of the hands of dangerous people. And the overwhelming majority of people in our nation want us to do just that. How long will you watch people being gunned down in first grade, fourth grade, high school, college, church, synagogue, a grocery store, a movie theater, a mall, and a nightclub,
Congresswoman,
and do nothing?
That is time. I want to give you 30 more seconds, Senator.
Well, everything she's for would have done nothing to stop any of these shootings. Every one of these shooters would have passed the background check that she keeps insisting on. No one here is in favor of mass shootings and violence. And that's why she says we did nothing. That's not accurate. The truth, today, you go to the Department of Homeland Security website, and there's a clearinghouse. She's going to mock it. She shouldn't, because the idea came from a Parkland father. And there's a clearinghouse there that basically tells schools, for example, this is what works for safety and this is what doesn't. And we got that put in there. You know who's trying to take that down? The Biden administration. Because they say that to have a school safety clearinghouse is discriminatory against minority students.
30 more seconds,
Congresswoman.
Congresswoman.
Is fine. But Senator Rubio thought that he could reduce this very critical issue to supporting a clearinghouse on the Homeland Security website. And he thought he would get a pass for the mass shootings that we've had in our state and doing nothing significant to do anything about it. Your primary responsibility, Senator, is to protect the safety of the people that you represent.
We just passed the bill they wanted, and there was a shooting a week later, and a week after that.
Why don't we just stop arresting murderers?
The only people that follow these laws are law-abiding citizens.
A rapist,
we are out of
a
time on
robber.
this issue, and in this half of this debate, we've reached halftime, and it is brief. So everybody stay tuned. We have many more issues to get to. You are watching Decision 2022, the U.S. Senate debate for Florida.
Palm Beach State College, 90 years of preparing top graduates who are industry leaders across Florida and the nation. Find your power at Palm Beach State College. Palm Beach State College.
All right, folks, welcome back to Roland Martin Unfiltered. We're going to go to a break. We come back, more on the show. We'll talk more about elections, also some other issues as well. Don't forget, download our app, Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. You can also support the show. Your resources matter. Bring the Funk Fan Club. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. Cash App, $sign RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And of course, you can get a copy of the book White Fear: How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. They'll be at all bookstores, Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Download it on the Audible, from Audible as well. And of course, you can order it through your favorite black bookstore. Folks, I'll be right back from Savannah, Georgia.
When we invest in ourselves, our glow, our vision, our vibe, we all shine. Together, we are black beyond measure.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are black beyond measure.
You know what's on the ballot. It's not just legislation and policies we believe in. It's democracy. Our democracy. There's a choice on the ballot between freedom and fear, between cruelty and compassion, between chaos and community, between voting or violence, and the end of rights generations have fought for. The extremists have a plan, a roadmap for a nation where your voice is silenced and your vote is a memory, where they count their votes and cast ours aside. That's why this year, this fight, this vote is so important. Register, engage, volunteer, fight back against the disinformation and despair, and most of all, vote, because your vote is all that stands between our future and theirs.
We're all impacted by the culture, whether we know it or not. From politics to music and entertainment, it's a huge part of our lives, and we're going to talk about it every day right here on The Culture with me, Faraji Muhammad, only on the Black Star Network.
Black TV does matter, dang it.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's your boy Jacob Lattimore, and you're now watching Roland Martin right now. Yee.
All right, folks, welcome back to Roland Martin Unfiltered here on the Black Star Network. Rasheem Carter, folks, has been missing. The Laurel, Mississippi Police Department is asking for help locating 25-year-old Rasheem Raphael Carter. Last seen on October 2nd. He is 6 feet tall, weighs 190 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. Anyone with information about Rasheem Carter should call the Laurel, Mississippi Police Department at 601-399-4440. 601 888-399-4400. Folks, a Texas mother is upset after a teacher actually threw her child and then lied about it by saying the child failed. So, 14-year-old Quentin Proctor attends the Round Rock Independent School District's Goals Learning Center, a school for kids who qualify with an emotional disturbance. Well, on April 29th, 2022, the teen was being escorted out of his class by two female teachers for disturbing the class. Well, they took him to the cool-down room. At some point, the assistant principal, Jacob Thomas, came to relieve the two women. Quentin says he thought he could leave with his teachers. When he tried to walk out of the room, Thomas threw him back in, making him hit his head on the wall. Quentin's mom, Tatiana Alfano, got a call and an email from the school alerting her of the incident, saying her son was defiant, fell down, and hit his head. Quentin told her he did not fall, but was thrown down. She requested the video and saw exactly what happened. Here's the school district statement about the incident. The district's investigation is complete. The staff member is still employed but not assigned to Goals Learning Center. He is currently working on administrative projects at the district's central office. She was not particularly happy with how the school handled the situation and reached out to the Department of Family and Protective Services to review the case. They ruled that it was reasonable to conclude that the alleged abuse and neglect did not occur. Unhappy with that, she posted the video on social media. The school district reached out to her lawyer and offered $10,000 to delete the video and sign a non-disclosure form. She declined. Randy, what the hell? First of all, how do you continue to employ an assistant principal? And they lied. The video shows the kid was being thrown into a wall. And the person is still employed? How about not lying and then you're going to offer $10,000 to delete the video? I'm glad she posted it because the Round Rock School District, which is a suburb of Austin, Texas, they are flat out lying.
And this is someone that's parents have to entrust their kids with every day. I mean, how can you trust someone who will just blatantly lie about something that happened and also become just violent with a child? You know, I watched the interview with this young man and, you know, he just seemed like a kid. He seemed innocent. And it's just a shame that he was handled by a grown man this way, a grown man who said that he was dedicated to nurturing children and helping children. He is throwing a child like this. To me, it even looked like he hit him in the end. And then to lie. How could he in any way keep a leadership position? If they allow him to stay in that position, then, you know, I think it speaks highly of the entire district. I mean, I'm sorry, it speaks low of the entire district. Says a lot. Low of the entire district.
Michael, I would say file assault charges against the principal, the assistant principal.
Absolutely. Make it hurt. And because right now where they have him, when they hold them in administrative, like where they hold them in those camps, their school systems, I'm a former high school teacher, they're still getting paid and they're just not having to do the work. It's very similar to the way they do police officers. So this man is not suffering, but so much. And he could stay that way for a long time. There's some people who stay in the system that way and make money and not work for years.
Michael Brown, this is assault, and that assistant principal should be charged for assaulting a student.
Absolutely, and no question about it. Especially, I mean, you know, it's interesting that we were talking about the paid leave situation. That family that suffered this, their taxes are paying his salary right now while he's still working. So there has to be some middle ground when punishment is imposed until, you know, people go say, oh, there's an investigation. There has to be some middle ground. Maybe he doesn't technically lose his job. He has to go home, but he doesn't get paid. I think what irritates folks is the fact that people are getting paid for doing bad while there's an investigation. Number two, absolutely wrong. You're absolutely correct. I don't know what. I know you mentioned the name of the town outside of Austin. We'll see what the DA does. I mean, there actually should be no question this is assault, because keep in mind, he can't call it self-defense. The young man did nothing to cause this person to commit an assault and battery against him. So from my standpoint, you're exactly right. should be charged. I just don't have no idea what the DA is going to do, and how they act with impunity. And oh, you know what? Just delete it, and we'll send you a check. You know, that's the same. It's so tired and typical, and that's what impunity does. People think there are no consequences.
Larry, check this story out. In Wisconsin, a white man in Milwaukee was caught on video holding a young black man with special needs by the throat after accusing him of stealing his bike. This video has gone viral. Watch this.
Sold.
I'm recording you. Let go of the
Go
man's
ahead.
neck.
Record.
Let go of his neck. He's not going
Stole
anywhere.
a bike right out
Sir,
of a friend of mine's
sir,
yard.
Let go of his shirt. Let go of his neck. Let go of his neck. Okay, you're fine. You ain't gotta hold his neck.
No, I
sir.
didn't touch it. I did touch it. Yeah, I did touch it. For real, I did touch it.
Yeah, one of this kid over here, one of his friends stole a bike right out of a friend of mine's yard. Okay, my address is...
Yeah, I did touch it. Yeah, for real, up here on God, I did touch it.
Yeah.
You ain't gotta touch his neck like that, bro. He a kid.
Yeah, right in the middle of the road.
He's just a kid.
Just
Hey, do y'all know? Hey, little man. Do you know his people?
There's actually 3 kids
Go
here.
get his people. Go get his mom or his.
He gotta go with us because his mom don't know us.
No, go get his mom or go get somebody that where he lives.
He doesn't know. They don't know us.
I don't know what kind of bike. It's a green one.
Yeah, but he didn't steal it. But
I don't know what you got going on, little man, but he don't need to be grabbing your neck like that. How did he get you?
I did touch it though.
I'm saying, how did he grab you?
No, I didn't. He got me and he went.
Yeah, he ain't got no reason to be grabbing your neck.
What?
Go.
Well, Larry, let me tell you what happened here. It was a black group. They pulled up on homeboy. His name is Robert Allen Walsikowski Sr. He described the bike to the 911 operator as green. You saw the bike. It was blue. Milwaukee Police Department is aware of the video and is investigating. The young man's name was not released, but he's 24 years old. But a group of black folks pull up on his white man's house, and they've been protesting. I don't know if y'all have the video. And they said, oh, you want to touch a young black brother? Here you go. And then you've had other activists from around the country who said they're going to pull up at his house in Milwaukee. Look, I keep telling. That's why, we had this segment, Crazy Ass White People. Y'all keep putting y'all hands on black people. It's about to be a problem, Larry.
Listen, Roland, this is, I feel for this young man who's obviously read the article with special needs, but this is once again an example of racial violence. And listen, we could have videos like this. You could play these on loop, Roland, every single day. And we obviously talk about these issues with law enforcement, but also these citizens. And this gentleman thought he had the right, not only to detain him, but his hands around his throat. And I'm great. I'm glad that citizen showed up, that brother showed up, let him know he need to take his hands off of him. But we can't continue to allow these folks to get away with it. So yeah, they need to be out in front of his house 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to let them know that we, members of the Black community, won't allow this to continuously happen, particularly those in our community who are the most vulnerable, which is clearly the case. But once again, the police department should be investigated. This gentleman should be arrested for assault. And then people not only protest in terms of in front of his house, they need to go in front of his job and let his employers know this is the kind of behavior of the individual you're employing. And it'd be certainly better not be a state or city employee. But once again, Roland, if you mess around and find out, if you put your hands on members of the Black community, and we need to keep doing this to hold these folks accountable.
Look, Randy, I'm telling you, I'm glad to see how people responded. And I bet that man is a little bit upset. Remember the guy in I know you might not remember the story, the guy in New Jersey who attacked this young brother. And man, when the protesters showed up at his house and he had to move, And so that's what should happen. I mean, bottom line is you don't sit here and just put your hands around this young brother's neck, and then you call 911 and say the bike is green and the damn bike was blue.
Right. And he also said the friend stole it. He said that not that gentleman stole it, but the friend stole it. So why do you have this gentleman in a neck hold? Not that that would be appropriate anyway. Definitely he should be arrested. Again, this is assault. But I think that the message should be loud and clear that Black people are sick and tired of being sick and tired. And if the police will not protect us, if the systems will not protect us, we will protect each other. So they should be paying attention. And I'm so thankful for that brother being there.
Michael.
We were just talking about deterrent in the previous story. There have to be deterrents, too, for people like the gentleman in the plaid shirt. You have to put some bracelets on them, take them downtown, book them for assault. I mean, because then hopefully the message will get out to people like him. I better not do this because this will happen. Same with the deterrence with the police. There has to be some stronger deterrence when folks do things that are not that frankly are illegal. But the laws protect police officers, and the laws, or whoever happens to be the DA, will protect this gentleman in the plaid shirt or the gentleman at the school. So that's why elections matter, because it depends on who is in these particular positions.
Absolutely right. Folks, got to go to a break. We come back. We'll talk with a sister out of D.C. who's actually a business advisor helping Black-owned businesses and others. And so we'll chat with her in our Marketplace segment. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered, broadcasted live from Savannah, Georgia. Download the app, Black Star Network app, folks. Android phone, Apple phone, Android TV, Android phone, Android TV, Apple TV, Apple phone, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. And, of course, you can also support us in what we do with our Bring the Funk fan club. Check in money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And get your copy of White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Mind. Available at all bookstores. Order from your favorite Black bookstore. Download it from Audible as well. We'll be right back. When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Hey, yo, Peace World, what's going on? It's the Love King of R&B, Raheem Devon.
Hey, I'm Cupid, the maker of the Cupid Shuffle and the Wham Dance.
What's going on? This is Tobias Trevelyan. And if you're ready, you are listening to and you are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, starting and running a business is not easy. Trust me, people love talking about entrepreneurship, but you have to understand the business of the business, navigating tax code, talking all the other aspects of running a business. My next guest is somebody who is helping folks do that, Tennille Moon. She is the founder and CEO of Moon Advisory Group. The full-service accounting firm handles bookkeeping, monthly accounting, tax preparation, business advisory services for high-net-worth individuals and business owners. She joins me from Lanham, Maryland. Tennille, glad to have you on the show. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. Thanks for having me, Roland. Really, really appreciate it.
All right, so let's talk about this because, I mean, look, when you're trying to run a business, you're trying to keep up with everything, and you're not keeping up with the tax code and how things have changed. In fact, literally, as I was sitting here talking, I got an alert from the Wall Street Journal that dealt with changes in the tax code as well, what you should know. And a lot of small businesses, especially the black-owned businesses, aren't taking advantage of the tax code and what it is they can write off, how they can actually make purchases. And so how do you help them in terms of understanding to grow their business in a unique way?
So the cool thing right now is it's actually a huge topic right now. A lot of people didn't really understand tax planning. A lot of people prepare for what? Tax season. And tax season takes into account what you've already done for the year. Therefore, now all you left to do is just pay your taxes. What a lot of people are trying to headlight right now is tax preparation. You have to do some tax planning. So with tax planning, we show individuals, we show business owners how they can put a plan in effect right now that shows you how to spend your money and how to buy assets, and buying those assets, how you can write those off so you can lower your tax liability. It's a huge thing right now, and that's what I'm going to stress to a lot of business owners that they need to do. Look into tax planning strategies. It helps you plan before it's tax preparation season.
And that's also great because there's nothing worse than sitting here and you get to February and March and you're like, what in the hell do I owe? I actually have a conversation with my folks as early as August and September based upon revenue projections, because, you know, when you get to it, one of the things is that, look, you may have a business and you bought as much as you can. So now you're trying to figure out, well, you know, how can I spend my money? And that's one of the first questions I ask. Okay, what do you anticipate our tax bill is going to be, and what can I buy to lower the tax bill? Because at the end of the day, if I can go out and make some acquisitions and some purchases that's actually benefiting the company, I'd rather do that than give the government, you know, like one year to give them $325,000, and I was pissed. And actually I was so upset because we had timed it out perfectly, and literally around December 27th, 300 grand in revenue came in. One company wanted to book it at the end of the year, and I was like, damn. And I was trying to figure out how to spend. I'd already spent about $400,000 in a month. I was like, damn, I cannot spend 300 grand in 3 days. And I was hot. And so that's why now, so part of the deal, people who owe me, I'm sitting here going, all right, so when y'all gonna pay? Now, why don't y'all go ahead and pay that thing like January 30th instead of December 30th?
Yeah, that strategy is called deferring your revenue. Deferring the revenue, which is just waiting a little while longer to collect it so it hits in a whole nother year rather than the year that it's happening right now. It's huge, Roland. A lot of companies don't understand the value of tax planning, and that's something that I'm emphasizing right now in this season. Like you said, you did it around August, around September. October, it's almost too late, but you have to get in the game, get your numbers together, get your financials together. Most businesses don't even have their financials together. They don't have a CFO, or the basics. They don't even have a bookkeeper. And a bookkeeper at least lets you know, are you profitable? So if you find yourself being profitable and you owe taxes in previous years, you don't have to keep giving that money to the government, giving it to the IRS. I call it, why not reinvest that money back into yourself? The same exact thing that you were saying. Spend the money on yourself, spend the money in your investments, spend the money on developing your team and bringing in new revenue rather than giving it away to the IRS.
Last question before I go to my panel, and this is the thing that totally trips me out. I've had business owners who say, I do my own taxes. And I'm like, you do know that's a tax write-off if you pay somebody else to do it. I am not going through the stress of doing my own business taxes. I'm going to pay somebody to do it, and I get to write off me paying them because it's a business expense.
Yes, yes, yes. A lot of people don't take that in consideration, but it is a business expense. All of it, as a matter of fact, is a business expense. Whether you're doing it one time a year for preparation, or you're doing it for planning season, or you're doing it for bookkeeping, accounting, all of it is a write-off. And if we're in your numbers every single month, we even can find new write-offs for you, new things that you didn't know you can actually account as a business expense, and you're spending it on your personal accounts. I've seen a lot of people do that where they don't realize that you can sometimes write off so much more in your business, but you're spending it on your personal expenses.
Questions from my panel. Larry, I'll start with you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Roland. So you're right there in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. There are a number of Black-owned businesses, and those numbers are increasing. Yeah. But I want to talk specifically if you have any programs where, particularly, like for instance, Black women. We've seen in the last couple of years a number of increasing of Black-owned businesses. Like I said, D.C. right there is a hub. Can you talk a little bit of if you're partnering with any organizations to support specific subgroups like Black women?
Currently partnered with a major agency that you probably heard of. It's called the MDDA, which is the Minority Business Development Agency. It is a federal program, but they partner with small businesses, not just in the DC area, it's literally nationwide. And we partner with companies that are women-owned, Black-owned, any type of diverse group. They partner with them, and I'm strategically leveraging a relationship with them where any businesses that come in looking to develop, looking to grow, looking to seek capital funding, that's what my firm does with them. So there's a lot of women-owned businesses, Black-owned businesses, disabled veteran businesses that come through, and they're looking to secure contracts with the state government and also the federal agency here in DC, which is one of the big businesses here is federal government contracting. And that's what we do. Get their money together. We pitch them for opportunities. We also go after funding with banks or even venture capitalism.
Randy.
I know that your tax plan is very much dependent on the type of corporation you are, if you decide to be an LLC or an S Corp. Do you provide services to people even prior to formalizing the business to advise them what would be the best type of corporation for them?
I am 100% in agreement with that strategy more than anything, but not everybody get that opportunity to do that in advance, because a lot of people right now, the information is out there saying, get an LLC, get an LLC, get an LLC. And then getting an LLC is so easy that they're not emphasizing get some education to determine what structure is going to be best for you. So yeah, I do offer business and corporation services. I like to educate. My team likes to educate how to start from the ground floor up and beginning with the end in mind. I want to know what type of goals do you have in the next 3 to 5 years, because those goals and those plans can help us set you up, structure you the right way you need to be today, rather than just going for LLC, going for S Corp. So I really appreciate that question.
Michael.
I'll be very quick, Roland. Thank you. Ms. Moon, congratulations on your firm, and I continue to hope you continue to grow. Can you, quick specifics for the viewers. When you say prepare for tax season, what exactly does that mean for folks? Does that mean they should make sure they collect all their the W-2s that come in the mail? Does that mean they should keep every single receipt? What does that mean by getting ready?
Well, oftentimes, in my opinion, the people who need to prepare are the ones that recognize that they have a pattern of owing. If you have a pattern of owing, there are strategies that you can implement that can help you prepare for a better result. Not every individual is going to be able to do that. And the reason why I'm saying it is most individuals make what? W-2 wages. And if you're not going to make W-2 wages alone, you have a business, you have investments, you have real estate, those individuals are able to manipulate or change their bottom line numbers with certain decisions they can make or implement today. So for those who have a pattern of owing, that's where I would say you can start preparing during 2022, because once the year is over, you've already passed or surpassed the preparation phase or the planning phase, so you can get into the preparation phase. So anybody that has a pattern of owing, there are strategies that you can do. Rather than giving up that money, you can now reinvest that money into assets that's going to benefit you as an individual or benefit you as a company.
And Ms. Moon, quick follow-up, Roland. And Ms. Moon, isn't it, can you also give quick advice to folks that even if they don't have the money ready that they know they may owe, shouldn't you file no matter what?
Oh, yes. You should file no matter what. Hit the deadline. April 15 for individuals, March 15 for businesses. Hit the deadline no matter what. And if for any reason you cannot hit the deadline, at least file for an extension, because the failure to file penalty is far worse than anything else.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Moon.
All right, Janelle Moon, we certainly appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Moon.
Thanks a bunch. Folks want to reach you, where do they go?
If anybody's looking for some assistance, yeah, you can find us on www.moonadvisorygroup.com. That's moonadvisorygroup.com. We're also on Facebook. We're also on Instagram at @Tennille_Moon or @Moon Advisory Group on Instagram as well.
All right, then. Again, we certainly appreciate you joining us, and I really hope folks take advantage of that question that Randy raised about the corporations is important, because we actually switched our corporate designation as a result, based upon when we changed the size of our company and the revenue. So again, that's where having professionals who can walk you through those things are critically important. So appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Yes, thank you.
Folks, that is it for us. We appreciate all the folks here in Savannah, Georgia, for hosting us. We were in Valdosta, Georgia last night, and so I want to thank everybody who was involved for that. Thanks for coming out as well. We certainly appreciate that. We'll be back in D.C. tomorrow. This Saturday, I'm going to be speaking to the Buffalo NAACP in Buffalo, so look forward to being there. Friday, I'm going to be at the Men of Color Conference at Montgomery College. Looking forward to that. Sunday, we're going to be in Houston with the NAACP and other organizations for a Get Out the Vote rally. I'll be hosting that. And I'm back here in Georgia on Monday and Tuesday. So quite the busy week for us here at Roland Martin Unfiltered. But look, is what we do, covering the issues that matter to us, to our community, and speaking truth to power. So let me thank Randy. Let me thank Larry, my Alpha brother. And let me thank Michael. And Michael, always remember, Alpha's your daddy. You know this. All right, yeah, you can throw that. You can throw that. That's called the flyaway sign. That's what we call that. Y'all call it hooks. We call it the flyaway sign. All right, folks, that's it for us. Again, download our app, please. Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Support us by joining our Bring the Funk fan club. Our goal is to have 20,000 of our fans contribute a minimum of $50 for the year, $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. Not only, of course, this show 2 hours a day, Faraji Muhammad's daily show 2 hours, and of course we have, of course, our weekly shows. Greg Carr, Deborah Owens, Jackie Martin. We have, of course, Stephanie Humphrey, and, of course, Roland with Roland. All of that. We've got 3 shows right now in development. And then don't forget, before the election, we'll be debuting our 24-hour streaming fast channel as well. So a lot of things happening with the Black Star Network, and your support is critical for us to continue to do what we do. And so, again, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And get your copy of my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Available at all bookstores. Get it from a Black-owned bookstore as well. Download it from Audible, and I would certainly appreciate that. And then if I see you, look, I'll be able to sign a copy for you. That's it, folks. I'll see you tomorrow back in studio in D.C. You know how I end the show. Ho!